Hello, Thrivers. I'm here today on Monday. I'm excited to talk to you. Today we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. So I'll wait just a minute. I'll go ahead and start, and then I can get this posted to our group as soon as possible. So, have you ever noticed how some people breeze through difficult tasks and projects as if they were born to do that kind of work? Well, meanwhile, others seem to struggle, even admitting how nervous or anxious they feel, constantly seeking support and validation. That was me. They might even say things like, I'm not good enough for this anymore. And then this is on, this puts them on a constant rewind in their head. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. If you find yourself identifying with this group of people, you might suffer from imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is very common. It's especially a common experience for those of us who've been through a difficult journey. And when I learned that, I was able to give it a name and then combat it. So we'll talk about that, my story and others. But let's talk a bit about imposter syndrome and what it is. Imposter syndrome can manifest itself in the form of self-doubt, anxiety, guilt. It can get in the way of your work or your relationships by making you second guess every decision you make, stifling your creativity and your strategic thinking. Others feel they need to work twice as hard to prove themselves. These feelings are only more vulnerable when you consider the anxiety and the lowered self-esteem that we often feel after, during our cancer treatment or after. I recall my own feelings of imposter syndrome upon returning to work after my extended medical leave. I spent about 9 months away from work getting through chemotherapy and all of the surgeries that were required for my reconstruction. My work responsibilities had been passed to my coworker, where previously we had split the responsibilities between two teams, his and mine. But there was no indication when I returned that any of those responsibilities would be passed back to me. So I began to doubt my own worth in a job where I had previously had confidence in my experiences, my knowledge, and capabilities. Given that was my experience. Returning to work was not easy for me. And maybe some of you have felt that too. When you know things have changed, you're a different person, but yet you're going back to the same job. Another situation are women diagnosed with early stage breast cancer. Given their less invasive treatment, some of them have expressed feelings of fraud. One woman said that she had completed her treatment She began to talk with others about their experiences with breast cancer, and she began to learn. Well, as she began to learn about their experiences, she started to feel what she called a disjointed cognitive dissonance. She joined a support group for young survivors. She eventually took over a state leadership role in that support group. And as a result, she spent a lot of time talking with other people about their experiences, their fears, their obstacles, and successes as they navigated diagnosis, treatment, and survivorship. Those who have experienced an early stage diagnosis, they have the same fears and worries like those of other women who had more difficult journeys. The emotions don't change. It's really a difficult journey for all of us, no matter what our stage was. All of us had the strength and resilience to get through our breast cancer journey. I want to remind all of you that you are not alone in feeling like an imposter, whatever your reasons are. To combat these feelings of inadequacy, try to use coping techniques. First of all, realize that this imposter syndrome feeling, or feeling like a fraud, is a common experience after dealing with a traumatic experience like cancer. So practical tips and strategies to help you overcome imposter syndrome include emotional coping techniques such as positive affirmations, seeking support from others who have your back, or practicing self-compassion. You can try journaling or creating gratitude lists, mindfulness, and acknowledging your achievements. I encourage you to reflect on your own achievements and the progress you have made. Don't compare it to the next woman that you meet. Recognize your own worth and the value you bring to the table. Your value has nothing to do with mine or anyone else. So imposter syndrome is just something that gets in our way, created out of nothing. It's um, our own mind making us feel unworthy for some reason. So remember, the most important thing to address imposter syndrome is compassion and understanding. You can find your way on your journey to healing and self-empowerment. If you need further assistance or have any specific questions related to imposter syndrome, I'm happy to help. Just feel free to ask. Meanwhile, I'm cheering you on. Have a beautiful Monday and a great week. Goodbye.